Just like, doesn't matter. We should talk until she like gets here. Can I give you my number? With strangers, you could come up. He's like, we'll have someone come over, like an electrician.
Oh, it sounds like a monster. And then as soon as you walk in the door, he like rolls over.
Yeah.
She's not to be intimidating, but it's actually effective.
Yeah. Not as fast as there. I got police in because
but it's I've seen some weird things.
some of them.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amy, can you please read the open public meeting statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Roxbury was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. On December 31st, 2025, notice was emailed and faxed to the Daily Record, the North Star Ledger, the West Morris Reporter, and published in the Daily Record. Notice shall also remain posted throughout the year on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the municipal building.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilwoman Albrecht.
Here.
Councilman Terry.
Sure.
Deputy Mayor Crowley.
Here.
Councilman DeFilippo.
Here.
Councilman Hall.
Here.
Councilman Riley.
Here.
Mayor Patillo.
Here. Brings us to item 4, reports of council liaison representatives, council committee, and new old business. Tonight we have our budget presentation. Mr. Manager?
Mayor and Council, tonight we're gonna go over the fire prevention budget, the fire department budget. Tonight we're gonna go over the fire prevention budget, the fire department budget, and then we're gonna do an overall budget snapshot of where we're looking right now. That will have Mike Pella come up and start with fire prevention. We'll get you the page number, but everyone should have the fire prevention PowerPoint he's gonna go through.
Page 65.
Thank you.
You have the operating.
first like to take this opportunity to say thank you for having us come here, like the department's been doing with making the presentations. It's been a long time since I've been here. I'm going to go through my slides, but also on some of my slides, I want to explain some things, educate everybody that's here in the council, like where we're currently at, who we have working for us, and things like that. And I've done a few comparisons with some other towns just to let you know like where they're at. And you know, just like Chief Holland said, I believe that we are the #1 fire prevention bureau in the state of New Jersey. I'm very proud of my department and my personnel. So thank you. I should have said happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody else. The first slide is our bureau overview. The current staffing is myself, and we're all part-time. The whole entire bureau is part-time. I also hold 2 duties. I'm also the safety officer that runs the safety committee for the township, as far as all of our accident investigations, safety, working with the insurance companies and things like that. I have a committee that we work with. I have 5 part-time inspectors. They're also all fire investigators, like I am. Micah Almendinger, he was grown up here in town. Currently he's a deputy chief in the city of Orange, but he works here on days that he is available. Mark Sylvester is here. He's also started Necon Fire, has been here since his internship with us, and he's a firefighter full-time in Clifton. Tom Ryan's here tonight. Tom's a Roxbury resident and firefighter. He's also, like I said, fire investigator, fire inspector. Russ Neidiger, you may not know him. These are last two newer to our town. But Russ is a firefighter at a research laboratory down in Princeton on the fire department down there. And Stu Gilson is also a firefighter in Cedar Knolls. All of it, you can see we're all certified in different certifications, and they're just listed there. Just want to give you a snapshot of our inspections for last year. Last year, commercial businesses, we had 1,653 inspections. Residential fire inspections, and your house is dead for sale. Change of occupancy, there's 325. We issued 170 fire safety permits. We respond along with the fire department about 99% of the time during the day when we're available. We respond with them. We had 176 fire calls. We had 8 fire investigations. We handled 14 fire code complaints, 6 plan reviews, and 65 administrative details. Any questions as I go, please go ahead and stop me at 10 times I ramble a little bit. I want to go to a 30-year financial review, and just something that's very important here. As you can see, I reported that we're all currently part-time staff. In 2011, we reorganized and we went to all part-time. So when we're working, we get paid. When we have someone takes a vacation, there's a holiday. My staff does not. We are all part-time, permanent part-time, and we're filling the staff and the bureau every single day of the week. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 of us on, and some days there's 1 or 2 of us on, but we're staffing. As you can see, in the very beginning, when it started out, even like back in the early 90s, we were actually a cost to the township. When we reorganized and we went part-time, you'll see all the green highlighted areas, all our revenues that we actually made for the township. So in the bottom line, we've made $174,000 over those years that we reorganized. So at really no cost. Those monies are supposed to be used on fire prevention and get things that you're supposed to need and things like that. But you can see this most last year, 2025, we had a great year, got all our inspections done, very busy. We were able to have a surplus of $58,000. So, any questions on that? Operating expenses, this is just our normal operating. You can see it's pretty much flat. The lines from last year to this year, there's really no increases whatsoever. Questions? And it just breaks down our categories. One of our biggest line items is our literature, but literature is for us is for all the school programs that we do in the month of October. That's really almost half of our budget. We just spend with fire safety education in the schools and the public. So. And if there's nothing else, there's different line items that we have.
The surplus this year is extensive. Can you explain how you were able to achieve that?
A couple of years ago, we increased our fee ordinance. We went from something that was $50 an inspection for the smaller businesses to a minimum of 65, and now it's footage based. So it's anywhere from 65 to a larger building is $300 per inspection. The same thing at the same time, we did up our fee for our smoke detector compliance inspections, as well as added a re-inspection fee within that, because sometimes they fail and we have to go back, so we're covering costs. So, and also the ability to have the staff to get all our inspections done and stay on top of everything.
And if those fees are comparable to those surrounding communities?
I believe they are. You might find, some line, like maybe a smoke detector inspection in Randolph might be a little bit higher than we are, but all the other stuff is pretty comparative. We always constantly look at that, right, make adjustments. Anything else? Yes.
How are keeping up with demand in the town in terms of the real estate transactions, things like that?
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
Yeah.
You know what, I can go back to pre-COVID and, like everybody, right? We go back, and we were probably doing a little bit more. It has slowed down a little bit, but we're keeping up with it. It's a pretty strong number. It's pretty, it's pretty relative, so.
Right. I just wanted to commend you and the group for the work you do, especially in the schools. It's much appreciated.
Thank you. Appreciate that comment. I would like to discuss the overview of the Bureau vehicles that we have, because as Steve reported in our capital request, we do have a vehicle that we're looking to replace, but I also want to just give you all of our vehicles that we have. So we currently we're all marked first responders. Like I said, we're all equipped with equipment. We are responding with the fire department all day long. We have firefighting gear, extinguishers, radios, investigative equipment, personal protective equipment, and a lot of specialized stuff in there. Our concerns are the way the gear is stored currently in the vehicles. We have respiratory exposure concerns, which is carcinogens. Some of our vehicles that I'm going to go through each vehicle, you're going to sort of see. We do have some risk of the way we're transporting some of our equipment. And sometimes the vehicle size that we have, because I'll explain where we're getting our vehicles from, is sort of like not quite accommodating what we have. We have a couple big guys that need some more room. Some of the vehicles you're going to see are jam-packed with equipment. So I would like to go over all that with you. Our first one is the vehicle 320. It's a 2015 Jeep Patriot. And we bought this 11 years ago. And you can see the purchase price was only $16,000. We did put in lights and equipment for $37,6280, installation and graphics. So that total vehicle at that time cost us $20,352, and that was paid from our penalty trust account. So there's really no cost. The mileage has changed a little bit because this vehicle actually is the one that we had slated the last 5 years for replacement. But after talking to the mechanics, we're going to keep this vehicle a little bit longer, but there's another vehicle that we're coming up to is the one that would be replaced that we're requesting this year. But you can see the equipment that's stored in the back of that there. Any questions on that? And then, what I want to say is that Jeep Patriot, like I said, we bought it new with our funds at the time. We do have a penalty account now. There's not enough to buy a vehicle in that currently, but there is a good sufficient amount in the penalty account. The vehicle that we're looking to replace, and the last slide when I go to will be the vehicle, what we're proposing, but this is the 321, is a 2012 Ford Taurus. Now these two Tauruses that we're going to go through next, these were used by the police department. We get them from the police department and we continue to use them. As you can see, this one was assigned to us in 2020. So we've already gotten we're on the 6 years of this. All we did to it at the time was put installation and graphics on it, and was paid out of our operating budget. The current mileage is probably now closer to 90,000 because a couple months ago we've still been using it. But as you can see, some of the equipment that's in the trunk, stuff's on the back seat, and like I said, we do have concerns because we're also firefighting and doing investigations, and a lot of the equipment does get stuff on it, and we have not made it's carcinogens. So when I go to what we're looking to propose, you'll understand where we're coming from, but that's that vehicle. The next vehicle is the vehicle that is assigned to me. As you can see, this is our newest one, but it's 9 years old. We purchased that for $24,000 back in 2017. We did put the lights, equipment, and the graphics on it, which brought it up to just under $31,000. Currently, there's it says 66. I know I got over 68,000 miles on it. You can see the vehicle was. We have a box in the back where everything's kept. Like I said, same concerns within the cab area. The other Tauruses have a trunk. We try to keep the gear and most of the contaminated stuff in the trunk. But this vehicle, when I have a fire, it'll smell like smoke for the next 2 weeks. You know, when we get to the concerns even more, I'll talk a little bit further. But that's our newest vehicle right now. The next one is vehicle 323. This is another Ford Taurus 2013. This was also acquired from the police department. We've been using it for 4 years. This vehicle is wrapped with graphics on it for $3,400, and it's got a current mileage of probably over 70-some thousand. You can see stuff's kept in the trunk. Brings me to our capital request. Our capital request is to $55,000 to have a fully equipped 2026 Ford 150 crew cab 4x4 through state contract. That will include emergency lighting. Will include a light, siren, radio installation, a pull-out bed with storage compartments, truck bed, and lettering. This is an example of a truck that is East Brunswick Fire Department, Fire Prevention Bureau. And what I was going to talk about, one other thing, is I did a little comparison around. Randolph Township currently has a full-time fire official, a full-time inspector, 2 part-time inspectors, and a per diem. They're running 3 Ford F-250 four-wheel drive pickup trucks. And the reason is, what we're able to do with the cap and the pickup truck is get all the gear in the back. So there's no concerns of contamination and to the members that are driving it. So it's similar to like what the chief's vehicle currently went to here in Roxbury. But it's not, it's scaled down a little bit. It's just for fire prevention, and that's what we're looking at. And I will go over concerns and justification of that.
Councilman Hall.
Just for my edification, this will replace what other vehicle?
It will replace the vehicle 321, which was the Ford Taurus that was originally came from the police department. It was the second vehicle that I showed you. That was the one after talking. Originally, the one that was to replace because the gear was the Jeep Patriot, but talking to the mechanics and Steve and his crew, said that vehicle would get a little bit more of it, so why don't we replace the Taurus? And that's the one they're recommending that we replace.
Is this going, these vehicles going fleet for consideration?
Yes, we're gonna look at which ones are gonna be repurposed and which ones are going to the boat. So that'll be a fleet committee recommendation to the council. The fleet committee, is what we talked about 2 meetings ago, establishing, if you're saying news to you, I'm just responding to his question. Oh, okay, all right.
Go on.
I would like to, while I was talking, I did a comparison to Randolph, just to give you, right, I wanted to overview our department, I overview Randolph. I did look into one other town, I looked into Manor Township. They're currently running a full-time fire official, 2 full-time inspectors, 3 part-time inspectors, and I looked at their vehicles. They're running a Ford Police Interceptor, which is similar to the one exactly what I'm driving right now. They also have a Ford F-250 utility truck that they use solely for their investigations and their on-call inspector for weekends when we get fired and do an investigation. And also they run 3 full-size Chevy Tahoes. So just to give you an example of what some other towns are doing. The justification for our capital request. Currently, the Ford Tauruses are not, like I said, designed to really transport the fire investigation equipment, resulting in contaminated PPE and the tool being stored in a passenger compartment. Storage of the PPE and equipment inside the vehicle creates a potential inhalation and contact exposure consistent with NFPA and OSHA health and safety principles. There was a big do and study with the ATF about fire investigators and cancer. And this is where everything's sort of turning over to pickup trucks, keeping the equipment and the gear separated. I've been in the fire service for 44 years. I can't say where it came from, but I have had skin cancer twice. I have a hole in the center of my head here, if you look, about the size of a $50. A number of years ago, I had to have it taken out down to the bone because I had cancer twice in my face. So it's I'd like to bring us up to the safety standards and for everybody. Also at the same time, like I said, we don't have any tools in the back seat that will be flying around. If something should happen, slam on the brakes, getting into an accident. I just think the pickup truck is the best fit. I know I've talked to Steve about it, and we just, like I said, we think this is the best fit for currently where everything's at.
Mike, so this is all in, right, $55,000, with everything?
Excuse me?
All the equipment, the $55,000?
Yes, that was everything.
It's all in, right?
Yes.
What happens to the scores? Like, what are we doing with that? That's gonna be like this committee gets to decide what happens to the scores?
Right, that's what's, I think the mayor asked. We're gonna try to start getting rid of some of the vehicles, out of our fleet.
Right.
But we're gonna figure out, you'll see later in the presentation, there's another department who asked for a vehicle. We're gonna see the best vehicle to repurpose to that
So
department.
there's more of the economics here than it's on this page, so we're
Yeah,
also
any money we
see
come back-
whatever value Forest has. And so we need to look at it more holistically from a fleet standpoint. That's, I think, where we're going.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, Mike, that helps.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any other questions? I'd be pleased to answer.
Great job, Mike.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Murphy?
If you wanna come on up, and as he's coming up, I will tell you, having come from a larger fire department, there's nowhere in the country that progressive fire departments are having their first responders respond with their gear that they just were in a fire in the same cab. That is a very high cancer risk, so what they're asking for is not outlandish, it's actually, I would say, outside of, Bob, your comment about the fiscal reasons, this is a cancer safety.
I think everybody on council takes his concerns very seriously.
Killing time as we're waiting for the next presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and I want to say thank you for having us today.
When we get there.
Okay. My name is Chief Tommy Valencia. To my right is First Assistant Chief John Romeo, and to my right of that is First Assistant Chief Levin Feldman. So, let's start the presentation. So we'll start off with our mission statement.
Move that mic over here.
I'm sorry. I'll start with our mission statement. The mission at the Roxbury Township Fire Department is to protect and serve the community of Roxbury Township through prompt, professional, and compassionate fire suppression, emergency medical services, disaster response, and fire prevention, guided with the principle of service before self. We are dedicated to safeguarding lives, property, and the environment with integrated courage, and respect. We strive to foster a sense of safety, preparedness, and community trust, ensuring the well-being of the Roxbury residents.
Very well stated mission, Chief. You guys do very well.
So this slide shows the response calls that have happened in the past and our projected future. As you can see, with the growing infrastructure and residents in town, our call volume has been going up. This year, we are projected to have 950 fire. slide summarizes the capital budget. It emphasizes the flags. And it just emphasizes each company on what we're looking to purchase going forward for this year. Do we have any questions? I'm sorry, is that better?
I heard what you said.
Is that better? Is that better? Sorry about that.
Next couple of slides, we'll go over some of those capital investments. Yeah, the first one here, company one is requesting $26,500. This is the Lucas chest compression system. This device would be used strictly on CPR calls. This would be the first device in Roxbury that we have. Several surrounding towns as well as Atlantic, St. Clair's, and county OEM EMS currently have them. For anyone that's ever done CPR, it's very tiresome. And as your responder providing chest compressions, you may be providing adequate depth and speed at the beginning of performing CPR, but over time, that quality starts to go down. And when you're in the back of an ambulance, thankfully on scene, we have Roxbury Police. They're awesome. They're always helping us out. In the back of an ambulance, you may be by yourself or with one partner. This kind of frees somebody up. Battery operated device that we can strap on up to 95% of patients will fit this device, and this gives textbook perfect chest compressions. Battery operated, we can transport to Dover, Denville, Morristown, St. Barnabas. This will do chest compressions the entire time, and they're textbook perfect. There's this 60% increase in blood flow to the brain versus manual CPR with this device. It provides better CPR quality. I've used this at county EMS, and it's a phenomenal device to have. Any questions from the council members?
Doesn't know what body type it is to make a perfect concussion.
So when you actually, if you look on the screen there, the yellow part goes below the back, right underneath the chest on their back. And we actually strap it down, and then we pull the device, the suction cup is pulled down onto the chest, flat firm up against the chest, and then it provides the proper depth and rate once you turn it on.
How long will the battery last?
So each battery you'll get, I believe there's 12 CPR sessions from one battery charge. And then your battery's going to last 3 to 5 years.
And you'll just change these from rig to rig?
Yes, our plan right now is to purchase this. If company one has a duty crew, it's going to be housed at company one. If company one has the duty crew, they will have it. If company two has duty crew, someone's responding to company one, picking it up, bringing it up for our ambulance to have. If God forbid is on another ambulance, another call went out in town, we would see to it that it gets through that call. Whether we're asking an officer to bring it over to them or they clear up, the chiefs are always around to assist as well. So that's something we've discussed ourselves. We understand it's a large purchase, a large price item, but we do everything we can to make sure it's.
These are the state of the art for CPR, correct?
Yes.
Chief, this doesn't remove that human element. Human still need.
Absolutely. Humans are still very involved with it. But from doing chest compressions,
I'm just talking about multiple CPRs. So
at the same time,
Humans are still required.
yeah, absolutely.
Chief, and less chance of injury to the victim as well, right? Because there's no chance of, a lesser chance of maybe breaking ribs or something.
Pushing down too far, providing too much depth, provides perfect depth every time. Once again, if you've done CPR, you can see it done. It happens quite often that you push down too hard and you break ribs, you crash ribs.
Continue.
second item that company one is looking to purchase is a power stair chair. Cost is $20,776. This will create a safe, ergonomic transport positioning for first responders and a better experience for the patients when we transport them. This chair comes with batteries, and it goes up and down the stairs with mechanically advantaged with the battery. It takes the weight off of the first responders that are going up and down the stairs with the patient. This would be another first in our town.
Currently, we have manual stair chairs, so it's not battery operated. One of the huge features with this is the ability to go upstairs as well. We have tracks on ours currently. They're meant to go downstairs. They can be used to go upstairs, but now you're actually working against the tracks. So in that case, you're just picking the patient up and someone's backing you up the stairs. With this feature, we would be able to, open the tracks up. Now that weight is down on the stairs, and you're just guiding it up the stairs, guiding it down the stairs.
Less injury for the first responders, for sure. Because those stair chairs are not easy.
They have improved over time. Years ago, we never had tracks. It was a chair. You never had expandable handles. It was basically a metal fold-out chair, and you pick the person up. So over time, we've had some nice features, and we've gotten the manual version of this years ago. The town embraced us. We had 5 ambulances at one time. We had all 5 at the manual striker with the tracks. So this would be a first for us. It's a huge help.
And again, this would be a first due rig and
Around.
Any other questions?
We have battery powered stretchers that go up and down, so we don't have to lift them.
they were a godsend when we got those, I recall.
So, the next slide is the feature item is fire gear. Company 2 is looking to purchase the fire gear, so I'm gonna let Chief Romeo speak on behalf of Company 2 in regards to the fire gear.
See at the top, NJ appears to requires a firefighter turnout gear comply with specific NFPA standards, typically 1971, be replaced if damaged, contaminated, or after a maximum 10 years from the date of manufacture. That gear must be inspected annually for damage. It fails to protect against heat, chemicals, and must be removed from service. Currently, we're looking for 8 sets of gear that will replace 7 current firefighters and 1 new firefighter. Out of those 8 sets of gear, we have 7 that are either already beyond that 10 years or will be at 10 years this October. We have 1 set of gear that is 17 years old and is still being used by an interior firefighter. So we're trying to prevent that from happening. Thankfully, it's a good problem to have in this day and age within the volunteer community. We've brought on a lot of volunteers. We've brought on 3 since we put together this budget. We have 6 more that are in the process right now. Several of them are already certified as firefighters. Gear is one of the biggest things. Each chief has their thing. The safety of my members is paramount. That is my number 1 mission as a fire chief, to make sure my members have the best gear possible and are safe in what they do. One of the things you'll see the total cost per gear, that is for a total set of gear, turnout coat, pants, boots, helmet, approximately $6,000. Thankfully, over the past 2 years, we've replaced all of our helmets on Company 2, so we don't have to purchase a helmet. Some of the members have received boots in the past few years, so they'll only need a turnout coat, turnout pants. So that's why if you actually add up 8 times 6, it comes out to more. We don't need that. 41,480 will cover those 8 members to get them in gear that is under 10 years, meeting NFPA and OSHA compliance.
With that being said, all 3 companies have shared gear throughout the last couple of years because we've had gear that has been compliant between the companies between different purchase times. So we've shared gear between all three companies. So currently, company 2 is feeling the effects of the turnaround process of our gear. So that's where we're at now. So going forward, this is going to be a every company problem coming up. One of the things that we had in the past was the grant. The grant is no longer available to us, but unfortunately, this is paramount for us to get this gear because it is one of the barriers between life and death for a firefighter.
Questions?
Do with the old gear.
The old gear gets taken down to the town garage, they take that gear, they store it for a little bit of time, and then they bring it out to, like, a Gov Deals or other bidding solutions that potentially could purchase it. Most of the time it's outside the United States, it's not inside the United States, because the NFPA standards are not allowed. Sometimes the gear is damaged so badly or so old, it just gets recycled. Also, to add to that, there are instances where gear does get damaged and it gets repaired and we get it back and the member can still use it, but it can only be damaged so many times and have so many repairs before it's no longer useful, and the companies will not fix it, which we are experiencing some of that.
And the one thing is that gear, the recommendation is a 10-year recommendation. Not that everybody knows this, but Roxbury is the top third of all responding fire companies in all of Morris County. So we're a lot busier than most. Our gear does get beat up a lot. So the 10 years is a recommendation. If our gear is damaged and unrepairable, it needs to be replaced. And just speaking with JJ, last couple days, we have this committee that's going to be doing the grants, so we'll be looking into more grants for gear going forward.
Any other questions on gear? So moving along to the next slide. This one will be quick. I'm sure you're all aware, Roxbury Company 3 is in the lower Berkshire Valley area of town. We do not have hydrants in that area. This is why we have a tanker with, 2,500 gallons of water and an engine with 1,250 gallons. We need a good amount of hose because of no hydrants and connecting to other trucks and other tenders. We've done a good job in a few years replacing some hose. In our capital budget here, we had, you'll see in a couple of slides later, every year, or skip a year, we're always replacing hose that we need, whether or not we do hose testing every year. Some hose is damaged and can be repaired, others cannot. So we're asking for the $5,000. After sitting down with the township manager and CFO, potentially we may be able to remove this out of capital this year and purchase it out of operating. Am I correct in stating that?
That's our recommendation, we're gonna pull it out of capitals and move it into operating. So we wanted to have a brief thing.
Okay, next we're gonna speak about the fire apparatus, in town. Chief McCullough is gonna speak on behalf of the apparatus.
So we have multiple pieces of apparatus in town that do multiple tasks. As you can see up in the slide, the NFPA 1911 1.1 scope, it states the standards of the equipment, which would be fire trucks, engines, ladders, and tenders. So the NFPA 1911 scope is that 15 years, when a truck hits the age of 15 years old, it can no longer be a first due piece of apparatus. For the people in the room that don't understand what the first due piece of apparatus is, that's the first fire truck out of the firehouse to the call, okay? When you hit that 15 mark, they're asking that to be the secondary truck out of the firehouse. If you look at the graph on the right there, we have replaced Tower 15 in 2023, it's 3 years old. Engine 21 being 10 years old, 13 being 15 years old at the cusp, Tender 32, 16 years old, Engine 12, 20 years old, Rescue 34, 25 years old, with the exception that is a mini pumper. Rescue 16, which does not currently carry water, is 27 years old. Rescue 24 and Engine 23, being 27 and 31 years old. The town has put an order in for a new rescue engine engine 22 to replace that. So those trucks will be leaving us when we get our new engine, and then it brings us to engine 31 with 28 years of service. So currently, it's about 60%, it'll show on the next slide, 60% of the apparatus in town is a 20-plus year or older. And they state, the NFP 1911 again standard states at 25 years, the piece of apparatus should be retired. So, as we're getting over to the next slide, this is the annex. It's just, I know it's tough to see up there, that's why we have the bullet points on the sides. It's just giving you tips that we've gotten from the NFPA in how we should be upgrading. Over 25 years old apparatus should be replaced. Currently, when we head to the next slide, you guys will see we have a good majority of that in our township. So at this slide here, you can see 60% of the fleet is 25 years or older. Lead times for this fire apparatus post-COVID has increased significantly. Engine 2 to 3 years, ladder 3 to 4 years. Raw materials, labor shortages, demand continues to influence the rising costs with a 100 to 140% average increase from 5 years ago. We've all seen this with the ladder truck that we've recently purchased and the new engine that we have on order.
One of the meetings that we did have, just as of recently, we sat down with the Public Works Director, Roll, our head mechanic, town manager, and we spoke about putting together a committee for future purchases on apparatus, so we all be on the same page and we can figure things out. Along with putting something together to look for grants and other things that are out there available for our town to purchase vehicles coming in the future.
Correct. We've had that meeting already. The next one is in the works of being scheduled, and going forward, the committee will advise the council exactly what the plan is set to do. That's why we have that capital budget plan, and you see it's a 5-year capital budget plan planned out. Engines and apparatus are on those capital plans. It's just a matter of following through with them and not trying to push them out further.
20% of this 50% is about go away. What's happening with apparatus?
Well, yes, you'll be replacing a rescue truck that doesn't have water and an engine that's 31 years old.
No, but that's good.
So if
Replacing 2 trucks.
we're replacing 2 trucks, engine 22 has already been auctioned off. That was auctioned off about a year and a half ago. It came out of service. And rescue 24 we're currently using. Once the new truck comes in, and once it's outfitted and in service, rescue 24 will go for auction as well. Engine 31 is still in service of our main number. But we have gotten rid of 1 truck already. Engine 22, unless the new truck comes in, we'll get rid of the rest of it.
What you understand, the fleet committee is not just talk about the older equipment going forward. It's actually the concept, and the fire department has agreed to this, what we're gonna purchase. So what Steve's mechanics have to fix, they're gonna be involved in the decision making of moving forward, what we're gonna be purchasing. So I just want the council to know that the fire department has agreed to this, the other departments, we're no longer gonna have silos of people going out and buying things and then send it to Steve and say, hey, fix it, and they can't find parts and everything's more expensive. So we're gonna try to make this fleet committee, right size where we should be across the board.
One of the other things, we agreed to with Steve Sinise and Jim Norris last year was a maintenance program, and that's been instituted to extend the life of the current fleet.
That would be including the pumps and all the mechanical devices on these pieces of equipment. We instituted the pump maintenance 3 years ago now. I think, Steve, right? It was about 3 years ago. We instituted a pump service plan, which, has been a godsend for our pumps because now they're working properly. I think we've turned the corner. Now it's just minimal issues with pumps that it's just normal maintenance.
Correct. And Jim has been a very big asset, the head mechanic over there with communication and really getting stuff done and figuring stuff out. So great job by Jim.
Chief, a lot of the professional fire departments that I'm aware of are now leasing vehicles instead of outright purchase.
Absolutely. We actually spoke about that in the committee meeting that we had. Going forward, the head of the committee is Steve Sinise, and he's sitting here, so him hearing that question, we will address that again at the next meeting. But yes, that is an option. Leasing is an option, bonding as well.
Right, because
And there is some very good programs.
right, with the 25-year life, then leasing seems, it might be a better call than an outright purchase.
Correct, because what happens is that you're getting new technology equipment as it comes to, so you know when it's coming up, when the new one's coming in, and you can, it'll just be top of the line, and then, at the end of this life, like these 25-year-old engines, or, any piece of equipment, they have no money in resale value. They're just, pennies on the dollar, really.
Any other questions about that?
This next slide is gonna show our timeline for large purchases in the capital equipment timeline. As you can see, we did put into the timelines new engines and some turnout gear. When we had discussions with JJ in regards to our turnout gear, we do have a plan to try to get this taken care of through grants, but we are gonna need new gear throughout all three companies. That's why this is on the plan.
And grants for the engines, why they're both listed next year, we gotta take a look at all options. As Tom said, leasing, we gotta take a look at options on, grants, or,
Does the turnout gear get cheaper next year?
Not at all.
So it's 4 cents for 16, but 8 cents for 41. So it's the amount seems steep. So,
Yeah, and, just like I had mentioned, helmets, boots, maybe it's, only a coat, maybe it's only a set of pants. We're just getting gear.
so set is just a generic
So,
term,
yes, it's-
whatever it is.
If we had it listed as head to toe, that would be gloves, boots, Nomex, goggles, coat, pants, suspenders. Some of that stuff we don't need because we currently have some stuff that we
I'm
already
arguing they're
replaced.
using set
Yeah.
as a generic term.
Yes.
Correct.
For some part of people.
it's an investment in the uniform.
So, and then as the capital budget goes out 5 years, you can see we have, the recent 5 years, 27, 28, 29, and 30. We spoke about earlier slides with, what we're looking for 2026. Any questions on any of that? Good, moving along.
This slide here is the operating budget for all three companies. There is a minimal change of 0.18% going forward for
Page 68. Pretty flat. Any questions?
I'm gonna let Chief Romeo speak about some of the items that we're looking to purchase through our operating budgets next year, this year.
So this is just gonna be coming out of the operating budget, but it's, some larger purchases. So some of the larger purchases and some items that we've been trying to purchase, over the past couple of years that due to, some other requirements, we spent money elsewhere. So one of the things, is a, side scan sonar unit. As you're well aware, Company 2, we have Marine 2, was a boat that was purchased for about $36,000 from the association, donated to the town. Every year, we've been doing some different projects, trying to get that boat equipped, instead of just spending, one lump sum in one shot. So we purchased some equipment for the boat. We pursuits. One of the things that we really need, that's why it's on the PowerPoint this evening, is a sonar unit. This is a side scan sonar unit with GPS, mega side imaging. You can see some of the images right there. This will be used in search and rescue operations on the lake. Integrated mapping is going to be huge for those search and rescue operations, as well as just enhancing situational awareness of underwater objects. We want to get the longest life out of this boat as possible. There are certain objects, especially when we get into the coves, that you can't see, and we've already.
There's a rock there that I can.
Yes, there are plenty of rocks.
So, do any of the other boats patrolling the lake have this now, like our state police or Jefferson or Patton?
Currently, Jefferson does have on their fireboat, they have it. Sheriff's Office has a unit that they'll bring out. It's not on the boat. They'll bring it out. It's actually drawing a total. It's basically like a little submarine.
It's an underwater drone.
Thank you.
Underwater drone, interesting.
Underwater drone, and we've done some training with the fire department and Morris County ESU. You have to request that. They have to respond out with it. This will be on the boat at all times. It'll be mounted on the
So
boat.
I would imagine this would really be helpful in some of our sand pits, right? Because they
Correct. We have, as you all know, in the last couple of years, we've had some more accidents on the water with drownings and locating the victims and stuff. And this would be a huge help because it is very difficult to find the person that is drowned without this. But we do it. It takes a lot longer. But,
takes a few days sometimes.
yeah, correct.
Unfortunately, currently, what we're doing is responding in our boat, and we're looking down. We're just looking over the side of the boat in the water. Our members are diving in the water, searching underneath the water. This will allow us to search a large grid, large area quickly. And you had mentioned the sand pits. We have Lake Musconetcon, Horseshoe Lake, the largest lake being Lake Pacon. We have over 1,100 acres of water just in Roxbury Township.
Any questions on that one? I'm gonna let Chief Romeo speak about this. He was the lead person with the police department in doing research on this piece of equipment.
So a couple of years ago, I was speaking with Sergeant Weaver, and we were talking about getting the fire department involved in some police department training. The fire department's very good at forcing doors. We use some different tools to do that job. A lot of times we're doing it with minimal damage as possible. We can't access a business. There's no Knox box key. We don't want to just slam the door open. So we've been talking about, doing some training with the police department. We have used a training door in the past. It's very limited on what it can do, so we were looking at purchasing a training prop that can do more than just one or two basic scenarios, and something that is also mobile, since we will be utilizing this with the police department. We'd like to, we can take this trailer right down to the school, roll it in the hallway, whenever they're doing any type of active shooter training, and you can see right by the picture there, there's some through the lock scenarios, so that's actually going, you're not breaking open the door, you're actually going into the lock and forcing the lock open. We also have the push bar, and anyone who's walked through the schools, very common, double doors throughout the hallways, push bar scenario, so we can show them different ways of accessing the push bar and pulling the push bar, opening the door. We have some cutting scenarios on this. You can see on the right side, there's a padlock, there's rebar, there's chain link as well. So this door will do 11 different training scenarios, all in one training prop. And this will be purchased by all three companies and the police department out of our operating budget.
So we'll get in conjunction together. What we've done in the past was borrow a simulator similar to this, but much more bulky and harder to transport The town of Denville has provided us some training opportunities with that piece of equipment. But what happens is they have to take time out of their day. Their DPW has to transport it up to us. We put it in a firehouse. We have to have a drill. And the problem is that we try to schedule drills, but as we all know, we're very busy responding to calls. So sometimes those drills go, we can't do those drills in a timely fashion when we want to. So then Denville has to come back and pick it back up. So but this would be in town, we'd be able to utilize it at full.
If this piece of equipment was to be purchased, how would you move it around?
We have a trailer. One of our members, we utilize the trailer all the time for moving equipment. Company One also has a trailer as well. And we have a utility truck, cheese truck, we can hook it up and strap it down and move it around. And then once it's to the location, one person, you fold up the sides, tip it right back, and wheel it wherever you need. Currently, the one that we've been using takes about 6 people.
And a pallet jack.
And a pallet jack, correct. It has no wheels.
And you can also hold classes for other people to come in?
Correct. So that's one of the big things, like you just said, Denville has allowed us the ability to use theirs in the past. Well, towns have some. Unfortunately, we have 2 outbuildings, so we can't build a roof prop. But we know of a town that has a roof prop. Well, here you can utilize our door if you allow us to unlock a roof prop. Then that saves us money from having to go to the academy and take a training class there with their prop.
I like hearing saving money.
Any questions on the door prop?
Chief McColgan's going to speak on the thermal imaging camera.
So as you can see up there on the slide, that is a thermal imaging camera. That is a very useful tool in the fire service. What that does is it allows us to track fire and also track the body because we all have a temperature, and we can make rescues to the patient and get them out of the buildings faster. It also is utilized in recovery in the woods. We've had a couple of those last year as well. That heat sink that a body gives off, you can actually follow footprints, you can see hands if they've fallen down. Same thing as if you were in a house. It's a very useful tool. We are looking to purchase them. We currently do have some. Unfortunately, the ones that we have are older and they no longer make parts and the manufacturer is no longer making them. That would be MSA.
So each company takes a thermal imaging camera with them on a truck. So when they respond, currently Company One has this camera, the chief's vehicle has this vehicle, Company Two has one, and then this will be bringing Company Three up and bringing them up to the same one that we all have.
Correct. So there's 3 in the department.
Correct. We have 3 in the department now. Company One was able to purchase theirs last year, or the year before, I believe. And then we are looking to purchase this year. We should.
The standard is to have one on each piece of equipment. The officer should have this camera at his beck and call. So when we do go into a building, we're able to check for heat sources. What this also does is help us find where the heat sources are in a house, so we're not actually like, whatever, lack of a better term, we're not breaking stuff or looking for heat sources that we can't see. This actually helps the
You're not breaking down walls to see if there's fire.
Correct. So primary example of that is what the chief is getting across is an electrical fire. We've had multiple of those this year. A camera from the chief's vehicle has helped us with that because we can see where the fire is and where it is tracking, and instead of now having to open every wall to figure out where the fire is going, we can pinpoint it and just attack that section versus the whole house or structure.
Along with that, the one primary use of this is during an actual fire, when we would be searching for a victim. This would aid us tremendously in locating a victim in a fire at any point.
Although we do already have 3 of them between the 3 companies, with 3 of this model, we're trying to get all of them to this model. First having an MSA, a Bullard, a Seek. The MSAs that we currently use, pictures don't look anything like that. Those cameras are about 18 years old. They're black and white photos, imagery. It's the detail and the technology over time. And one of the other things, the busiest time, and we know Roxbury, we're very busy. We've had 7 calls at the same time. Trucks going to different places. So we need
fire prevention have any? And you're a lot of times first on scene.
Correct.
Do you guys have the handhelds?
I got the handheld to the,
Right.
grant for you guys a couple of years ago.
So this, the
Maybe
one,
if you, yeah.
so we're currently, looking into the grant, in order to possibly get some other individuals, a smaller version.
Any other questions on the thermal imaging camera? Thank you.
This is gonna be, engine 23, which is currently up at station 2. I'm gonna let Chief Romeo speak on this.
So as we saw before, engine 23 is the oldest truck in the fleet. It's 31 years old. It's a mini pumper. It was actually repurposed. It used to be engine 105 at Company 1. It used to be a yellow truck. One of the major issues that we have with this truck right now, due to its age and the lighting that is on the truck, the emergency lights cut out when responding to calls.
When did you repurpose this truck?
So this used to be engine 105. It replaced an engine at Company 2. We used to, when I joined Company 2, we had 3 Class A engines. We're now down to 1, and we have the mini pumper replaced one.
You know when, the question was when?
Oh, I'm sorry,
I couldn't tell you the year off the top of my head. We'd have to look.
Early 2000s.
I was gonna say that
Early 2000s.
It's been in collision for a while.
I think maybe mid, because I remember 105. Yeah, maybe.
I could look into that and find out, get that year and get it back to you. Yeah, like I said, currently the emergency lights, they shut off when we're responding to calls. Daytime, nighttime, we are clearing intersections and your lights go out, and you don't know it. You have your siren going, but you have no clue that your emergency lights have just gone out. At nighttime, it's a little bit easier to tell because you can kind of see the reflection off objects. However, during the daytime, you can't. We take this during the winter time, snow conditions. When we're doing standbys, this is our first due. We take it up onto the highway, and we're now providing a block on scenes, and you're doing so in a truck that has no lights. We'll turn them off, turn them back on. Sometimes they come back on and stay on. Sometimes they go back out 30 seconds later. So after speaking with the lead mechanic, Jim Norris, on this, he had reached out to Spectrum and had Spectrum come in and get a quote for a new load manager and to switch all the current emergency lights out with LED lights. And that's that number you see up there. And that will hopefully fix the problem.
This is one of the engines we're gonna replace.
No.
In a year?
So,
I thought 23 was one of the ones that were replaced.
it was engine 22 and rescue 24 are being replaced with a new squad that we had purchased, and we're waiting. We should get delivery late next year, beginning of 2028. Engine 22 is not on that list because it's already been auctioned off.
Last year, we pulled it up there.
Correct.
Okay, so when we said that the new one that's coming in is replacing 24 and 22, not 23.
Correct.
That's correct.
23 is 31 years old.
Correct.
That's correct.
How old was 22?
22 at the time was 28 years old. Correct.
Did you hear this?
Okay, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions on that?
Here's the slide that gives us a little bit of an update and an insight onto our cost recovery for everybody. We went live officially on February 12, 2026. Year to date, we've submitted 21 completed claims with 5 claims pending. Billed out $21,360.51 in total claims. That's it year to date. So that's just a current update on our current situation. What I'd like to add to this is that some of the other surrounding towns are currently billing for a labor fee, adding $200 to $400 per claim, a preparedness fee for $255 per claim, and an administrative fee, adding about $200 per claim. The addition of these fees would potentially add $13,755 to $17,955 to just these 21 claims.
remember specifically the labor fee per attorneys had a problem with.
So-
The preparedness fee, I'm not sure about the administrative fee, is that exactly what we're paying the firm to?
No, that's gonna be, the administration fee is for our own folks doing administrative work towards the cost recovery. It's an added fee, that's a line item that we can include to provide for the back, office work that's being done to prepare us.
With the issues we've had with this contract, I wouldn't be prepared to do this unless we run it by the attorney who rewrote those to make sure that we had the proper things covered under New Jersey law.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying somebody else isn't doing it, doesn't mean that somebody should be doing it.
Well, what we wanted to do was point out the monies that are being left on the table by us if we are.
Maybe.
Correct, maybe, correct.
This needs to be run by.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of what's going on around us.
Councilman Hall?
We respond to other municipalities, which I'm sure we do quite frequently, mutual aid. We can still apply this.
So currently, we're applying this specifically to motor vehicle accidents. And if there is a loss of equipment in a fire, we could go back and potentially bill back for, the loss of that piece of equipment during an incident. But currently, right now, we're just doing it for motor vehicle accidents.
Within our township. You're welcome.
We do respond mutual aid to other towns such as Tender. There's a mutual aid agreement already set up in place for Roxbury, for all the towns. So if we were to respond to the city of Patterson or another large city for a water main break, we're there for an extended period of time. There is already in place agreed upon rates throughout the county. So we are getting something back.
When the tender goes out.
So they're, and the reciprocal is happening, they're not billing Roxbury.
Correct.
Any other questions on cost recovery update?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So, this is going to be a budget request. We're looking to create a position for a director of fire and EMS for the Roxbury Township Fire Department. Here's an overview. The creation of this position of director of Roxbury Fire and EMS has been discussed over the past several years with the fire department leadership to benefit the Roxbury Fire and EMS services due to the rapid growth within the Roxbury Township, increased call volume, and increased administrative duties associated with being in fire EMS. This new position is, if created, would assist in completing administrative tasks that are associated within the fire department and allow the Roxbury Fire and EMS leadership to concentrate on operational excellence. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I think I want to spend more time looking at this.
Okay. So I'm gonna let John take the next slide, please.
Some of the benefits, this position would aid the chiefs in utilizing a single point of contact, the township administration, the finance department, and the cost recovery department. This position could potentially be offset by funds generated by the cost recovery program. And it keeps the fire department members safe and compliant through a changing landscape of certifications and standards.
Is this the position you had a conversation about?
Yes, sir. And I would just say, let them go through and get all the duties and we can have further conversations on this, but this is in terms of, one of the key positions that we're looking forward to, especially if we're getting cost recovery.
You talking about somebody in-house?
Yes. We're talking about moving the current fire official to the fire director. And then another part-time person from his department would come from fire inspector to the fire official.
How come this wasn't presented in the fire prevention?
Because we're trying to make the fire prevention officer the fire director. So It was a little bit of, that's why we're just doing it the same night. And probably, they had a township manager who said, let the fire department brief it, not the fire, so probably, you can blame me for this one.
Are we talking about it now because there's a budget impact, so I don't see.
There's not really a budget impact, we don't foresee it, it's the same hours that Mike currently works, he'll be working with a different title, and another part-time person in this department.
This is an organizational change.
It's an organizational
So
change.
it's not a budget, then there's a budget impact, right?
Well, there'll be some costs, we think the costs are offset by the cost recovery program.
Okay.
So we don't think there's gonna be a negative, we don't think there's gonna be a negative budget impact, but we thought it was appropriate, and be transparent, that we're trying to do an organizational change that, while there may be costs, we think they're minimal.
And I'm fine, I'm not saying yes or no at this point in time, quite frankly. I think there's other things we need to discuss more holistically, than just get some bullets tonight.
Okay, if we continue?
Yes, please.
So some of the duties and responsibilities would be coordinating with the fire department leadership with quotes, purchases, and projects for current and future needs. You would coordinate with the chiefs on an annual operating and capital budget and set controls, appropriately allocating funds for resources. You would act as a public information officer under the direction of the Roxbury chiefs, releasing information to public officials, press, media, during emergency events. You assist the department with training officers with required annual training and record keeping. Coordinates the ISO compliance within the township and the state. Coordinates with Roxbury Fire and EMS leadership on creating and implementing strategic plans that are best suited for the department and the residents of the Roxbury Township which they serve. So that last slide you see there, some of the questions have been brought up already about it. As you can see, the transition, the promotion, the location, and the hiring of it is within those 4 bullet points right there for you to review as well.
Okay, so there would be an impact to the budget if I'm looking at that last bullet, right? Because you're looking to hire to backfill somebody else, correct? So you're asking to add a position.
We would add a part-time fire inspector. If we want to keep the amount of inspections at the same level, I think the slide was 1,600 this year. We want to keep up that. And
Part-time inspectors pay for themselves.
right.
Okay, that's so we bring another one on, you're just gonna generate the revenue that pays for the fire.
Correct. We had a $58,000 surplus this year.
Well, that's the only reason we're talking about it. I think there's more there.
Yeah,
Just for discussion purposes, I think there's more. Yeah, but I understand the rationale behind some of this, I agree. I agree, in fact, I think some of these things are things we talked about as we looked into getting into cost recovery 2 years ago. So, where cost recovery would be damaged and all those types of things, so I think we need to, like I said, just have a take this information and decide which direction we want to go. And I'm not saying no to this by any stretch of the imagination.
I would just like more conversation on
Yes.
this.
Right. Well, all of these budget presentations have been, they've shared the information, you guys digest it, and we'll continue the conversation.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
I just want to explain on the fire prevention bureau, you would not be adding a fire inspector. I would be removed from the fire prevention bureau. So the number of staffing within the fire prevention bureau will stay exactly the same. Exactly what you saw, those numbers, inspections and everything. The only addition would be someone would have to go to my role. And I would become working for and with the fire department. So the staffing level and everything you saw with fire prevention will stay 100, with no addition in the fire prevention.
But you said somebody would have to take out your role.
That, it would just be within the department. One person would move up to my role. And then those other ones that would, you have the same number of staff, you still have 5 part-time inspectors. You just have to backfill that one where the guy moves up.
Yeah,
So
you're
you're being
being
added
you would be
somewhere else.
supervising.
Right, that's
I
why
would-
it's briefed
what's that?
in the
You would be
fire department.
supervising the fire inspectors.
No.
Not at all.
No.
No. I
No,
would-
you also would not be, you would be working for the chiefs.
Correct.
That's the difference.
The organizational change would be fire director would be working with the fire chiefs, doing the administrative work for the chiefs, who have other full-time jobs, right? An internal person would come up to be the fire official who would supervise the fire inspectors. But operationally, Mike would go into the fire department budget. Cost recovery would be taken out to pay any salary impact. So what Mike's saying is, we're not asking, it'll be the same amount of people in the fire inspectors today, it'll be tomorrow. We'll have one extra. The fire director would be situated in the fire department. And that's the other reason we briefed it in
I
this.
think we understand. I have additional questions which we can take off.
All good. Next slide, final slide.
All right, with my final summary. The number one priority of the Roxbury Township Fire Department is the safety and well-being of the residents and the volunteers. The Roxbury Fire Department is 100% volunteer, and in 2025, we responded to 1,358 calls between fire and EMS, with approximately 14,874 total man hours. The creation of the Director of Roxbury Fire and EMS position would assist us in accomplishing our mission. Changes to the cost recovery ordinance will allow us to recover additional funds to invest in needed fire and EMS equipment. We are committed to being a collaborative partner with the Township Council, staff, residents, and delivering our mission of service before self. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time out to listen to this.
Any questions before we leave?
Any questions before we head out?
I just have one question for you guys. As far as the NFPA standards, do they change on a regular basis? Is this something that?
So, to answer that question is, within the last 3 years it has. So, 3 years ago, it was 20 years, was your, up to 20 years was your first piece of apparatus. And then the last thing we want to do is not have it do what it's supposed to do.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
You know why we switch? 2 minutes or whatever. We have the best IT guy in the township, work the slide, I'm gonna stay here. High level budget, everyone comes back, we'll take 2 minutes.
Thanks.
Better not screw up now. Council, I just would like to start by.
It'd be worth asking.
Saying thank you for your patience. I know this has been a new grant process, new process going through the budget. The department heads have really enjoyed briefing to you and sharing excellent work they do, and I guess the public's been able to see that as well. But I want to thank you for trusting me, hiring a grant team who's going to help us be more competitive with our grants, trust and transparency with staff and allowing staff and I to find innovative solutions to find additional revenues, i.e. the vacant property or the exchange we did. So things like that, you've allowed us to bring revenue to this community. So I'm going to go into a high level. You can stop me at any slide. This is just to kind of put the framework where we are, and I understand that we have now briefed multiple times. We haven't had a chance to come back and say, I want to ask you a question about the health department. I want to ask you a question about the police department. That still is open, just like, you know, we weren't asking for definite decisions tonight on the fire. We just want to have them the chance to brief. So with that, next slide. Okay, can't have this meeting without talking about the significant ICE fiscal impact. Our MET dropped $62 million. Sell that building. Revenue loss, as everyone knows, is over $1.8 million. Broken down for Roxbury, that's about almost $500,000 a year. Moving forward, I don't know. We have an unknown personnel impact for needed positions if this facility is going to move forward, whether it's public safety, communications. So I'm just going to put that out there that as we proceed with this, we all know that there's some things we can't answer tonight or in a week or two. Next slide. I do want to go over some budget highlights. Proud to say that our health insurance increased by $700,000. Appreciate your support last year. Staff bringing that forward.
That was a great job, very impactful, and I thank staff for all that work.
The police and fire pension decreased by 3%. Library, 1/3 of a mil increased by 13% to 1.878. We added that grant team. It's not just one person, it's a team we have. Finance added benefit software for $25,000 fee. Liability insurance increased by 8%. And obviously, anybody who's lived here this winter knows that our snow and ice, salt, everything needed an increase. So we utilized $266,000 and we published it by $400,000. Next slide, administrative cuts. Public Works decreased by $60,000, offset from the recycling trust.
We actually have about 260,000 right now. We used 266,000 last year, and we replenished another 200. So it's 206. I think it's 206, like 259,000.
But the current balance after this year.
After the replenishment of 200,000 is 260,000.
So what exactly can we spend in this year, a really tough season?
In the 2025, 2026 budget year, we spent 266,000 out of the snow trust.
Would be, I think, I was asking, what overall, whether it's still in line, still a nice line item, or still in the trust?
Just give me 1 second.
Trust is second.
I have to get to that slide. If you go to your snow and ice slide, this only has the 2025 expended amounts in it. We expended $619,202. That's just from the operating. I can tell you right now, our overtime right now is already over what we budgeted. So we're increasing that, to accommodate for the next.
Well, the whole idea is still a nice one is to supplement what we had this year.
Right.
it's already over for 2026, and we still naturally have about 2 more months of the winter season, November, December, at the back end of this year. So that's why we're not, I don't think Valley was gonna increase it much, it's just to cover some of the overtime potential at the end of the calendar year.
Okay, but yeah, that's the whole idea.
Yeah,
Trust.
understood.
We have this crazy year.
It was a heavy year, a lot of events on weekends and holidays this year.
Fortunate that we had the money this year in surplus to replenish everything that we spent out of the snow trust. We're not always gonna have that.
Thank you.
Okay. Back up, bullet 2, we removed $300,000 for the
Along 60,000.
60,000. Yeah, I'm missing 0, sorry. Not 600. Steve, you all right there? We might have a new CPR machine they can sorry, appropriate.
That was funny.
For this budget, we're removing the $300,000. We took aside $300 last year. Obviously, we have to work with our attorney to make sure we can cut the right deal with the state, because they're not treating us fairly. We removed the $200,000 from the budget for the fire truck purchase. We have the $750,000 reserve. Mayor, based off of your questions, when the fire department came back, we have a little bit of lead time, so we took that out of this year's budget. I was trying to figure out the hit on the $500,000 hit that we have. Let's get that out. Engineering, Delaware project went from $400,000 to $300,000 pending approval of the freight grant. Health department took out the, we moved the animal control van, $95,000 this year to next year. And the field vehicle, we'll replace that $39,000 in one of the trickle down cars. Not gonna go buy another car. And Steve came up with various line items in the DPW that we can cut. Next slide, please. Additional increases, we have a new township planner. We put $100,000 in an ice impact line. We've added an additional laborer in the Parks Department and added $25,000 for overtime and snow and ice. Questions? Okay, so we have talked in the past about potential investments in roads or roads and sidewalks. We have 2 scenarios presented, and obviously we can do either one of these scenarios. We can do a hybrid scenario, but we wanted to give council the opportunity to look at 2 different scenarios. One scenario being we were going to get aggressive and do $2.5 million over 5 years. Each year, we have options to ban some of that money or then go to a bond. That would leave a tax increase of 2%, a surplus of $3.6 million, and a capital budget of $1.8 million.
For clarity, the bond, 5-year, $2.5 million bond, is that a 5-year ban and a 10-year bond?
You can go to the next slide. You looked ahead, I think. That's one scenario, Jim, but I understand we're in uncharted waters right now with ICE and the budget impact. So I'm here just to present alternatives. This council's gonna come back and tell me what you guys want, and we'll make it work. This is one scenario of a 5-year ban, and then bonding. We can do 2 years.
I wanted to bring up because the bond, it said road expectancy is 10 years. So we're gonna pay for it over 15 years.
Some of the roads are up to 30 years.
One way to structure that too is when you have a ban, you can pay whatever principal you want in that given year. So if, say this year we do 2.5 million and we say, you know, we're gonna, you have the opportunity to not even pay any of the principal until you get to the 10-year mark of any note. we decide how much principal we pay while it's in the band portion. So we want to be aggressive, knowing that we're gonna bond in 5 years. We're gonna wanna try to get that down as much as we can, so that when we do bond, it's not as high. But there's different ways of looking at it.
Refresh my memory of this 5-year plan. When we're done, this brings Roxbury Road into fully
Sidewalks, correct.
So it's a long-term outlook. It absolutely does get the road network in a much, much better position where the township, through normal increases of the budget process, or would be very sustainable. Absolutely. So we're hoping that
Maintenance program starts in what year?
5 years.
after the 5-year.
There's a little bit of a catch-up period in that first 5 years. After that, it would turn back into a maintenance and very standard, how many miles of road we would have to do annually. It really wouldn't change much. The sidewalks is a little bit longer term program, but that does have an end game in mind. So that our hope is we're able to make a significant impact in the next 7 years with this new sidewalk program.
The 5 years with an additional 2 years on the side.
Yes, give or take. Give or
They're
take.
gonna be run.
Correct. That's correct.
All right.
So, just want to be clear, so right now we're spending anywhere between $1 million, $1.2 million a year on paving. In 5 years, and then when we start paying off the note, that would be. We really pay plus $1.8 million a year.
So keep in mind, Jim, it is 1.8 million. That does not account for any of the offset grant opportunities that were presented to the township. So that's really worst case scenario, but I obviously want to reflect the full picture. So we have been fortunate to get some DOT grants. I think some of the other things that are changing in town, I think we may be fortunate with other grant opportunities, but that's something that we're looking at annually. You just can't guarantee the revenue on the grant end side. No, you cannot. But obviously, I want to give the full picture of what our road network should be and what it's been and where we need to get to. Thank you.
It's definitely more favorable than it has been. Currently, with the band that we went out to, we got a 3% interest rate, which was good compared to a couple years ago where it was over 4. So it's getting better, but you always have to pay attention to the markets. And we have a firm that we work with that sends us the markets or the rates every month, so we are on top of it.
So right now, we have an opportunity at 3%, but the market is changing. You know, chances are interest rates are probably gonna go south before they go north. That all being said, we can renegotiate the bands that we have in future years, making it down, let's say it drops to 2%, correct?
Yes. Yeah, because every year, the bands expire every year. So your bands will get a new interest rate every year.
The council can decide whether or not we just bond it at.
Absolutely. That's definitely your direction, yes.
And I think it's another important barrier here is the financial health of the township. Right? So we're running a bond rating of what? We're double A rating.
Yeah.
We're double A rating. The only reason we're double A rating is because we're relatively debt free right now. That's years.
Not only that, but also our surplus, the amount of surplus we have also helps.
And then our taxpayers is 99%.
Correct.
So all of these factors, but a large part of the fact that we now remain more debt free, we can get these most favorable rates going forward.
Correct.
So that was, scenario 1, if you want to make that investment. scenario 2 that we had presented was if council decided not to make that investment this year in the $2.5 million investment in the road and sidewalks, we would bring it back down to $800,000 less the initially request for 1.8. Ultimately, it's a math equation. So, do you want to go less this year on roads and sidewalks? Do you want to go more? That's a council decision. But in this scenario, if we went back, we'd have a higher tax increase unless we take more money out of the surplus. Again, you know, you can move that anyway, but we're just putting numbers here in front of you to consider and have a thoughtful conversation.
With the emergence of the loss of revenue, I would go to a budget surplus try to bring it back down, because that's another factor we need to take into account. What do they make up their debt? $400,000
I asked our CFO, said, what we absolutely know. We know we're taking a loss. And I don't know what we're gonna get back, so we presented worst case scenario fiscally, what we're facing. We wanted to provide you scenarios, and we can come up with a hybrid. We're looking for council direction, especially on some of the timing for Steve and his team to get in touch with contractors who will be doing some of this work. The timing's gonna be important.
My suggestion would be scenario 2, before coming out of surplus, because make that decision now, not knowing the net effect of the facility on the street. Which is a negative to us no matter what, but financially, it's significant. Before we start spending money we don't have yet, directly where we are. I know it's a tough budget year for you. You just got it. Right? So you haven't had a chance to digest it.
I'm in this with you.
We're talking about some pretty big programs for the fire, police, different scenarios. You brought up a lot of you while dealing with this crap in the street. Again, it's tough. If it came down to just spending money this year right now, not knowing everything, taking all those factors that we just rolled up in the air, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And we're so far into the budget process now, that finding something so large and impactful in a matter of a month or two just seems a little ahead of schedule. A little over planning, and we've got to be careful with the next.
I do just want to say that currently, as it's presented in scenario 2, you can see that the municipal tax increase is 5.5%. Statutorily, we cannot do that. In order to get it to 2%, I'd have to use another $800,000 of surplus. And then we run into situations where we're not keeping as much surplus. Our bond rating would then potentially go down because we're not holding on to as much surplus.
Well, again, we're in a factory year, like this. We're getting hurt. All angles.
And I also want to point out, 800,000 would not be a lot to get. We wouldn't have any roads we'd be able to pave. The 800,000 is we authorized $1.2 million, 1.1 or $1.2 million last year. So we'd be taking a hit with the paving of roads in this year.
Right, I mean, again, you guys can tell us, no, we don't want 800,000, we want 1.2 million, half of the 2.5, pull more out, but there's a little bit of a balancing effect of how far down you go.
Isn't there a hybrid of the high-end plan and
we could potentially ban $1 million in roads and use, and then 800,000, and then we'd get to where we need to be.
It felt like that a little bit. I think we sharpened our pencils a little bit. It seems to be a combination of just fund balance as well as maybe getting a little bit of what we're looking for. Kind of started on the road.
You're looking to get extra roads done in a ban for a year, anticipating paying that in a year, depending on where our financials are. I would agree with that. Because we're still not.
I'd still like to see numbers.
We're still not getting, yeah.
Okay, so we will.
But at least
I would really like to start seeing some of these numbers because it's hard. I'm not against the hybrid solution at all, but like for example, if we take 800,000 out of surplus, it's surplus.
Surplus is still excellent.
Are we still?
Well,
Yeah, we
gotta
can't hear
remember,
you.
We're already using 3.6 million, you add 8, we're gonna be using, I think it's like 4.4 million. About,
Can you use the mic? We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
and, currently our surplus is, I think it's about 9 million this year. So if we use 4.6, then we're using about half, that's a lot.
But where are we supposed to be? I guess is my point. Isn't it 50% of the overall?
It's like, it should be 20% of the overall, yeah.
So if that's the case and we're still within it, then what's wrong with the hybrid solution?
Yeah, I would like to see us, I don't think we can solve this on the dais tonight.
I think
Love to see
I
somebody.
think I heard loud and clear. Let's continue.
Can I just mention one thing? Statutorily, I do have to adopt or introduce the budget, by the end of March. And then I have to, or the next meeting after, so I can technically, introduce the budget first, regular meeting in April. And then the introduction would then be first regular meeting in May. Just putting this way out there already?
Budget meeting on the 31st.
Okay.
So I think you're right, moving in the same direction, banning for a year, anticipating.
Am I hearing just the ballpark of a ban of like 1.2 and $800,000 under reserve, so you get $2 million? Is that what I heard?
Let's look at that.
Scenario.
You done it to show us the number.
I think that's what I heard. I just want to make sure.
That would be the direction.
Because if this facility up the street goes away, we get $500,000, $400,000 back.
Yeah.
We're in a different shit together, not as good shit.
I heard what I need to hear. If you have any questions, I wanted to do the high level.
Just one other thing. What I'm hearing is that there's a time limitation as far as, so I guess you have to make a decision on the 31st to get the contractors lined up.
To get the budget adopted, so I can get it in.
So the sooner we
So you wanna
get,
start collecting taxes.
the faster we get this
I
additional
will have a
information.
hybrid to you by next Tuesday. We have a meeting next Tuesday. I don't know what Tuesday, you'll have an option by next Tuesday.
Thank you. Thank you, Val.
Thank you, Val.
Thanks, Rob.
I'm gonna. We're good? Any other questions for them? No? All right, we're gonna move on, to our first item 5, matters requested referred by council members, managers, attorney clerks. There are none. This brings us to our first public portion. I'm gonna ask that this public portion be, concentrate on the budget, the departments that were presented tonight. Does anybody have any questions on the budgets that were presented tonight? Hello?
Mr. Mayor, Council, it's been a while, but how's everybody doing? Chris Coleman, 105 Oregon Drive Landing. Just want to touch briefly on what the chiefs discussed. This is just my opinion, not based off of what they said or their opinion. But, Councilman Riley, you were correct. This was presented for the fire director position about 2 years ago in coordination with the cost recovery program. I just personally think it would be a huge benefit. You guys see the time and effort these chiefs put in, and it's very, very taxing on them and their families. So just to have one person consistently working with you guys and the chiefs, especially with the transition of a new chief every year, to have consistency in this town with that position, I think benefit everybody. But I just appreciate it if you guys took that into consideration.
We weren't saying no.
No, I understand that. I'm just expressing that I agree with what they're saying, and just think about it. All right? Thank you.
Anybody else have anything on the township, on the budget tonight? Seeing none, I'm going to close our first public portion. Item 7, introduction of proposed ordinances, there are none. Item 8, hearing and adoption of ordinances, second reading, there are none. Item 9, introduction of adoption of resolutions, there are none. Personnel changes, none. Communication, there are none. This brings us to our second public portion. I ask that anyone who wishes to be heard tonight, come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Marissa D'Ambrosi and I live in Fort Lawrence. I am standing here again tonight because I am angry, disappointed, and honestly disgusted. The people in this community are speaking out against an ICE detention facility planned for our town, yet the people who are supposed to represent us are doing nothing. Silence is not leadership, silence is complicity. Across the country, ICE detention centers have been the subject of serious reports of inhumane conditions, lack of transparency, and mistreatment of human beings who are often simply seeking safety or a better life. And now our town is being asked to accept to be a part of that system, and the council is standing by without taking a clear stand for the people who live here. You were elected to represent this community, not to stay quiet when something this serious is happening. Families in this town are worried about what this camp means for our values, our reputation, and the kind of community that we want to be. Doing nothing sends a message. It tells the residents that their concerns don't matter. It tells the world that this town is willing to look the other way. Leadership means having the courage to speak up when something is wrong. Right now, that courage is missing. Right now, I am asking, no, actually I'm demanding, that this council stop ignoring the people you represent. Listen to the community, take a stand, and do your job, and don't just sit here with smirks and laugh at us. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Charles Johnson. I live on Berkshire Valley Road. Many detention facilities are managed by for-profit organizations which have well-documented histories of poor conditions and inadequate medical care. The use of public funds to support these operations raises significant ethical concerns. I believe that neither our tax dollars nor our township's reputation should be associated with a system that treats people seeking safety with such indignity. My grandmother's journey to New Jersey from South Carolina was motivated by the desire to escape the harsh realities of segregation. She was a kind, God-fearing woman who was beloved by all who knew her. Despite having little formal education and working as a domestic laborer, earning extra money by ironing clothes for others, she dedicated herself to supporting her family through hard work. My grandmother lived to be 96 actually. One day I asked her for advice to guide me through life. She simply told me, be good to people. This wisdom has shaped my perspective and actions, and all we are asking now is for you to do the right thing and show kindness to others.
Hello, my name is Matthew DeSalvo. I'm from Morton. I'm a social worker and a therapist here in New Jersey. One of the skills that I've had to learn as a therapist and a social worker is to read people's emotions through their face, eyes, body language, and tone. And after having spent a number of weeks listening, observing to the people in this room, I wanted to share some of the things that I've seen. As I've been here listening to people come and address the statistics, money, infrastructure issues, and history of violence that comes with ICE concentration camps, the common thread I have noticed in the faces of those who came to speak is a look of empathy, but also of pain in the eyes of these people as they are fully aware of the danger and fear that is and will be experienced by their friends, family, and neighbors because of ICE, and seeing how hurt they are to think that that could happen to someone in their community. I also see the bravery it takes to stand up here and demand change from their local officials for the benefit of others, while at the same time knowing that doing so can make them a target by this administration, by ICE, and even by law enforcement. I also see an anger in the people behind me, but not an anger that lashes out in destruction, but an anger that fuels determination to fight for what is right, even when it might cost us something. However, what I have seen from those in front of me stands in stark opposition. I see boredom, a look on your faces that says you are not here to listen, but just waiting for us to stop talking. As you look either down or completely past us. I see quiet contempt as you attempt to hide smirks and sneers unsuccessfully, while the people here speak of the horrors that will befall this community because of ICE. I also see an anger, however, unlike the anger behind me. The anger in front of me is an indignant anger, one that says, how dare you question us? One that would see everything burn before it admitted you were wrong. I see a coldness and a lack of empathy for your fellow human beings and the suffering that ICE will inflict and has already inflicted on this community, this state, and this country. And so I leave you with one question, one I don't want the answer to, but I hope you will only really contemplate. What will it take for you to care? How many more people do you need to see come into this room and beg for the lives of their neighbors before you care? How many more families do we need to see torn apart before you care? How many more children do you have to see running from masked agents in fear before you care? How many more photos and reports of inhumane conditions in these concentration camps do you need to see of people being treated like they are less than animals before you care? How many more reports of violence, denied medical care, and rape against those held in these concentration camps do you need to see before you care? How many more people do you have to see executed in the streets by these masked agents who are gleeful in their use of violence before you care? Will you only care once oppression is knocking on your door? What will it take for you to care? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jean Marie Embler, Mount Tabor, New Jersey. Just want to read a little something I saw today. DHS bought a warehouse in a city called Social, Georgia. When the city council asked DHS how they plan to use the warehouse, DHS refused to answer. So the city cut off water and sewer services and put a lock on the water meter and said that the services will remain off until ICE indicates how the water and sewer to the facility will be served without exceeding the limit of the infrastructure capacity. That's something you might want to think about.
Bonnie Rosenthal, Randolph, thank you again for the podium. Is actually just a few questions. Well, first I'm going to start with, I told you guys last week, if you guys resolve this, people wouldn't be here. So obviously you didn't resolve it. Understand that you may not have been able to over the past week, but remember what I said. We will stop coming when we are advised that ICE will not be housed in Roxbury or anywhere local. Anyway, it's two questions. There was in the media that Congressman King said he will supply you guys with funds to make up for funds that you guys will lose if the concentration camp opens. So my first question is going to be is, if that money is offered, do you have to accept it? My second question is going to be, you're working on the budget, and I think Eugene talked about this a bit, but ostensibly you'll pass the budget probably within the next 1 to 6 weeks, or 1 month to 6 weeks, give or take. If they were to move forward with opening the facility, does that mean you guys need to go back to square one to figure out how to move? You're saying no, Councilman Riley, or you're shaking your head. I'm not criticizing you. You're shaking your head. I'm just asking. That's not a hot topic, that's a, you know, I think kind of an easy question, is it, if this opens, do you guys have to go back to square one to figure out, like, how do you guys, there's gonna be more police needed, EMTs, just by their very
We
nature?
can't answer that question right now.
Okay, thank you.
Chris Satiro, Mount Olive. I wanted to talk more about the infrastructure problems and limitations for this facility. Some quick numbers. The water capacity for this warehouse is at 12,000 gallons per day. The intended use for DHS, where they claim that the capacity would be 1,500 people being housed in this facility, could be up to 3,000 based off of some of the more accurate numbers, but DHS says 1,500. That would bring the total gallons per day up to 187,000. This is on top of the Highlands region being in a state of extreme drought, which is really the only region in New Jersey that is under that code. The entire state of New Jersey is under a drought warning and really has been since early to mid 2024. We haven't really gotten out of it. It snowed a lot over this past winter, but I think 10 inches of snow roughly translates to about 1 inch of water, so we're really not out of that yet. And that's on top of AI data center development, which is threatening water infrastructure even further, which my organization has been helping to mobilize people against. It's a very bipartisan issue because people understand that the extreme water usage requirements for these data centers for cooling purposes is such a massive strain on public resources that we really just don't want them in our towns. And this facility should be treated the same exact way. And for sewer, it's pretty comparable, 11,700 gallons per day under the current usage or the previous usage. DHS would bring that up to about 187,500. Sewage. So, New Jersey's municipalities are in charge of operating their Clean Water Act requirements. The Clean Water Act delegates that authority to the states for pollution discharge permits. We have the NIGPTs permits, we have municipal separate storm sewer system permits, MS4 at the local level. We recently have new requirements to put together watershed improvement plans, which I hope Roxbury's been working on. I know a lot of towns haven't. But that is our fault if we can't comply with that, and all that sewage has to go somewhere. 187,000 gallons in an area that is currently treating 11,700. That's 16 times as much. We do not have the infrastructure to handle that, and it would fall on the ratepayers for the Musconetcong Sewerage Authority to expand that piping service. I don't really know what that would look like. That would probably take years to get up to snuff. And for water, that area has a publicly owned water utility, which means people of Roxbury and ratepayers would have to pay that. So I think it's this council's obligation to inform all of the ratepayers about the potential costs for improving the service lines 16 times of what they normally are. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mary Paulson. I'm from Roxbury, New Jersey. Although he's not here tonight, I will address Senator Bucco directly. Senator Bucco, it is important for you to understand that your votes are earned. Your moral and ethical standing is under scrutiny, and rightfully so. Your record of supporting stricter immigration enforcement, including advocacy for the New Jersey Blake and Riley Act, requires detention without bail for detainees. That speaks for itself. Your constituents are extremely concerned about your moral and ethical standards. Sadly, it appears that the Roxbury Town Council, who also need to know that their votes are earned, don't see the issue with your role as town attorney. And your refusal to recuse yourself in this situation does as well. Roxbury residents are paying you to fight the ICE concentration camp with profound passion that you have been submissively showing an inability to muster. Political theater, Senator Bucco, you must step down. It is past time. Mr. Riley, your purported silent majority is extremely mixed. My question for you is reflexive. Where is the Roxbury silent majority? Where will this majority be at the next Roxbury Town Council election? It is tremendously hypocritical and disingenuous that you say that the Roxbury Town Council represents this silent majority. It is morally reprehensible that the representatives choose to make decisions based on something they have yet to see or produce at public meetings. To all of you on the Roxbury Town Council, I pose another rhetorical question. Kathy O'Leary was kind enough to take time from her overwhelmingly busy schedule to speak with you in early January. She was here as part of our community, as many of your constituents and concerned citizens from other communities who bring to your attention ICE's plan to incarcerate human beings in cages in Roxbury. As you have heard time and time again, the definition of concentration camp is a place where large numbers of people, such as prisoners of war, political prisoners, refugees, or the members of an ethnic or religious minority are detained or confined under armed guard. Kathy encouraged Senator Bucco and members of this very town council to visit Delaney Hall. I ask you to explore your conscience. Have you visited Delaney? If not, why not? You were invited. You have not shown, nor do you have the courage, fortitude, or moral integrity to accept. How are we supposed to accept that you believe there is nothing you can do? You do not. I am part of a group of friends and neighbors who regularly visit Delaney Hall. Thank you.
But I own 8 lots in Morris County. 5 of them are directly related to the Department of Environmental Protection and Highlands Council of Assemblyman. And believe me, they have the power to stop building. I own 2 lots. Well, actually, I have to correct that. I have that one building forfeit foreclosure on 206 Byron in a very commercial district. They've been able to stop multiple bids of buying that property. One was even just a nursery school, saying it was too much of an impact on the environment, too much on water, too much on sewer. They have the power. This warehouse can be stopped. It is zoned as a warehouse. It is not zoned as a prison. It is not zoned as a school or a large residential area, apartment complex. I was extremely disappointed to hear that you could not put anything in writing. When I found out that the $2 million tax deferment, there were $20 million that was talked about in the news, was through a phone call and never put in writing. Maryland just stopped, maybe only for a few weeks, but they got a restraining order by putting it in writing in front of a judge. Their detention center is under a restraining order. They can't move forward. They are getting things done. This is possible to stop. And if you don't think having a prison, detention center, concentration camp in your backyard will increase every negative, like I feel bad for these firemen and policemen. They had on their chart that they won't have any more calls next year. It was only up a little bit. If this goes through, they're already saying they're so busy. They're so pulled in many directions. 911 calls are dramatically coming out of these places. And then also just the ICE on our streets doing the crazy traffic stops. You're going to have so many more calls over small traffic things or large traffic issues from ICE detaining people behind traffic stops. They're already pulled to them. I have seen as a businessman and woman that projects can be stopped very easily, but it takes everything in writing, and it takes being very strong and powerful. And if you can stop, my father's had a small business in New Jersey for 65 years. If you can stop him repeatedly from being able to sell properties, which is the DEP and Highlands Council, you can stop this. This is a warehouse.
Saladino of PACCON. My first question, is there any update on the investigation into the shooting that happened on Landing Road? Because we haven't heard a single thing.
No.
So they come and shoot in your jurisdiction and you guys don't know nothing about it? Have you inquired? Okay, cool. So has Senator Bucco only been cleared by the Office of Legislative Services, or has he also been cleared by the Office of Attorney Ethics? All right, so that means he hasn't been cleared by the actual office that's supposed to clear him, because we're not asking him to step down as a legislator. We're asking him to step down as an attorney. Also, in your budget, it says him 80K, right? It also says approximately 18,000 per month, which doesn't add up. But it also says ICE legal 100K. Is that for Bucco, the 100K? Is he the only person that's going to be fighting this as far as legal counsel? Okay. The no response is not a good look, I'm not going to lie to you. So,
Fine, go on.
right, so when, let's say he loses, right? Everybody's going to be more mad at you than I argue at him, because at least we know what he's telling us. And can't we isn't it fair to say that he...
Here's the answer. I cannot discuss the suit. Can't discuss it. Okay.
You can't tell us if he's the only person that's going to be fighting it?
I can't discuss any of it.
Okay. All right. So let's say it's fair to say that he's going to care more about Republican voters' view of him as opposed to Roxbury constituents, because you appoint him as opposed. Let me finish. I'm gonna go a little longer than 3 minutes because I'll let you talk a little bit too. So he's going to care more about how Republicans think of him as opposed to us. So how do you think it's going to fare for him if he successfully stops this camp? When Republicans want these things, they want it, and if they find out that Republican Senator Bucco is the one who managed to stop it, do you think that's going to look good for him as a Republican? I don't, and I think anybody that has common sense or has like the gall to admit it out loud knows that that's not going to look good for him. Okay. In terms of fire safety, right? Are there fire hydrants by the warehouse? Do you know? Are there sprinklers inside? There are sprinklers inside.
It would have to have built it to come.
Right, but it's not. It's built right. It's built for 40 warehouse workers, right? It's not built for a couple thousand people inside. For 40 workers.
Currently built to come.
You're not finishing the sentence. For 40 workers, not for a couple of thousand prisoners, correct?
Oh, for what it's approved for, yeah.
Okay. ICE is raping girls and women and putting all pregnant girls in one detention facility in Texas, by the way. They are, I just read about a little boy, I think a 5-year-old autistic boy, didn't poop for 10 days, had a swollen belly, didn't see a pediatrician. Oh, a Haitian woman in Pittsburgh, ICE released her and they found her dead a couple of days later, just a couple weeks ago. Haiti, by the way, which we're actively drone striking right now, currently, the government. Oh, by the way, I found a petition from 2014, at least 500 signatures asking Bucco to resign in 2014 for the Fenimore project, because there was a conflict of interest of him being an assemblyman and the township attorney. So people have been asking me for over 10 years to have him resign, and you don't care. And every time you stand here and look at me and don't say a word and look me dead in the eye, you tell us all that you don't care in no words. And I'm done. I appreciate you letting me go over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name's Sierra Winters. I live on Mount Arlington Boulevard in Landing. I need a second for a deep breath because I have a 5-year-old autistic son, and hearing that made me sick. And he's a Roxbury child. And yeah, I'm a mother. I'm raising 2 children here, and I'm here to raise concerns about the same things as all of my neighbors. I saw the $100,000 line item for ICE-related legal work. If this is going to Bucco on top of the $80,000 that we're already paying to him, that brings his total compensation from Roxbury taxpayers to $180,000. That is a lot of money for this town. I saw the cost of some of the equipment. For reference, do you know the median household income of a family in Roxbury? It's $134,000. So we're preparing to pay Bucco more money than most families live on in this town to represent us in a matter that is in direct conflict with his political record. This does not sit right with me, and I want to be clear. I believe that we absolutely should allocate these funds to put a stop to the ICE detention facility in our town. However, I do not believe that Senator Bucco will give us the best return on investment. We all know that the families in Roxbury are working hard. We are raising our children, we're paying our taxes, we're trying to build a safe, stable life in a community that is welcoming and kind. It's been welcoming and kind to me, and I believe it should be that way to others. Choosing to line Senator Bucco's pockets while he supports policies that are actively harming immigrant families, and while a detention facility, a concentration camp, is being built in our backyard, is a misuse of our hard-earned tax dollars. As a mother, I see immigration as a family-focused issue. I would do absolutely anything, legal or illegal, to protect my children, to keep them safe, to keep them with me. And I know that I'm not alone in that. I would imagine that those of you on this council who have children of your own would do the same thing. Many of the people who will be held in this facility are not criminals. They are families, parents, people driven by the same instincts that we feel every day to do what's best for our families. We need to do the right thing here. My ask is simple. If we are going to invest $100,000 in legal representation for this issue, and I believe that we should, that we must fight this with every dollar that we can spare to, let's hire someone who can get the job done. Someone who will work tirelessly and passionately, without conflict, and with full trust from the community. And I think you know that Senator Bucco is not that person. I hope you will make the right decision for Roxbury and obtain independent legal counsel. Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Guy Citron, Tewksbury Township, grew up in Morris County, coming to you as a neighbor and a friend. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Honorable Council members. I just wanted to say something very briefly in honor of St. Patrick's Day to the effect of Irish heritage. And last week I admitted to not being a lawyer. I'm also not a historian, so if I, get it a little bit wrong, I apologize. But to my understanding, in the 1920s, the Irish were experiencing an independence movement. They wanted to be free to self-determine outside of, I guess, the British monarchy. Was it still, or were they? Anyway, I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not a historian. They wanted to self-determine, and instead of being accommodating or democratic about it, the British started a paramilitary group known as the Black and Tans. And the Black and Tans would go in and basically terrorize Irish people and destroy their ability to organize. I'm a Jewish American, third generation, and we experienced similar, my great-grandparents did, in Russia and Poland with the pogroms. And I'm pretty sure the Italians experienced something very similar in the 30s and 40s, and actually late 20s with the rise of Mussolini. And that group of heritages, the Jews and the Italians and the Irish of New Jersey, I just want to point out that we were called the criminal illegal aliens. We were called the rapists, the murderers, the thugs. We had jobs in sweatshops. We did the dangerous jobs. We were the pushcart salespeople on the side of the road. That was us not too long ago. And so, in honor of everyone's heritage who comes to this country seeking freedom and liberty and life and the pursuit of happiness, and I'll finish here. Thank you for your understanding. I think we really need to look at our neighbors who are in the process of becoming citizens, understanding that asylum seeking and coming to America is not like an A to B process for everybody. If you get something wrong on your paperwork, you had bad representation, or perhaps the country that you come from is now collapsed and their government no longer has your documents, things like this occur. So I'm praying for that sense of pride in one's heritage, whether it's Irish, Jewish, Italian. The gentleman spoke of his mother who came from South Carolina, who was seeking similar, a Black American. You know, whatever your heritage is, I pray that you find solidarity with what our migrant neighbors are experiencing now, and please do everything to stop this facility.
Thank you.
Tracy Reed, Allwood Lane in Succothsona.
I'm sorry, one more time?
Tracy Reed, Allwood Lane, Succothsona. So I'm here to ask for something fundamental: clear communication, transparency, and accountability to the residents of Roxbury. We are tired. We've been here week after week. We've given you all of the reasons, all the business reasons, all the humanitarian reasons, all the environmental reasons. We've offered to help. We've had people that have advanced degrees in all kinds of things offer to come forward and help you figure this out. And yet, we're still left in the dark. Transparency is not optional. It's essential to good governance. When communication is limited or unclear, it erodes public trust and creates unnecessary fear and speculation. We're asking the council to ensure that no decisions are made without meaningful community input, and this doesn't count only as meaningful community input. We would like a two-way conversation. We've been asking questions, we don't get answers. And I understand there are things that can't be discussed. I get it. I've managed people, I've run companies, I understand. But this is also still a democracy. So at some point, we need more information. Roxbury residents deserve to be informed participants in decisions that affect our community. Silence or delay is not acceptable. We respectfully but firmly ask you to do your duty. Communicate openly, answer our questions, and engage with the people that you represent. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Atish Gupta. If you need any help spelling that, you can find me after the meeting. I live on 69 Sparta Avenue in Newton, New Jersey, and I wanted to express that I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak to you all, and I'm very grateful for the firefighters who go out and risk their lives legitimately. I know sometimes I get into sarcasm up here, but legitimately, it takes a lot of courage for someone to run in towards a fire, you know. And I really liked what they said about service above self. And I think the people who are standing behind me exhibit that, because they're coming out here on a weeknight. It's pretty late, and they're coming to address you with their concerns. I really respect them for that. I wanted to say something about. I really wish Senator Bucco was here, because he spoke to the press about political theater, that we're engaging in political theater. I thought that was funny, because during the last council meeting, you brought up the Daughters of the American Revolution to give them an honorary award, and you talked about the fireworks for the 250-year celebration of America. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Revolution of 1776. This revolution lives in the bullets that killed Silverio Gonzalez, Keith Porter, Alex Preddy, and Renee Good. The revolution lives in the women and children shivering in ICE prisons across the country. The revolution lives with the 4-year-old child with cancer that DHS deported to Honduras. The revolution lives in the children that ICE uses as bait to catch their parents. The revolution lives in the slaughter of 150 girls in Iran. The revolution lives in the 72,000 killed in the genocide in Gaza at the behest of American capital with American weapons. The revolution lives in the naval blockade around Cuba and in the bombs that fell on Caracas. The revolution lives in the knees that suffocated George Floyd. It lives in the bullets that killed Philando Castile and Breonna Taylor. The revolution lives in my incarcerated black and brown brothers and sisters picking cotton on chain gangs in Louisiana because they committed a crime. The revolution lives in the slave patrols and the police departments they later became. And the revolution lives in our beautiful, brave boys in blue, carrying on that beautiful legacy to this day, armed and ready to intimidate any brown people that dare to cuss on this podium. The revolution will live inside all 4,500 detainees at the Roxbury ICE Detention Center. God bless them all, and the brave camp guards who will abuse and neglect them. I'm excited to fly the red, white, and blue on 4th of July. Will the detainees, this is a legitimate question, will the detainees be able to see the fireworks from the warehouse? Are you going to give them that capability? No comment, thank you. This is not my revolution. It's not our revolution. It is the revolution of the twisted parasites that rape children on Little St. James Island. Our revolution is the one where the levers of power are wrenched from the pedophilic elite and placed in the hands of the masses that work tirelessly to create their wealth. Thank you for letting me speak.
My name is Sonali Sinha. I'm from Parsippany. So I just want to say, when that Washington Post article was dropped, everyone was caught off guard, all of us. Your own superiors screwed you over and left you to deal with the consequences, the backlash, the humiliation. And because you haven't taken formidable action, they see you as weak and submissive and feel like they can use you as their playthings. If they did it to you once, they're going to screw you over again. And first they're going to come for us, but then they're going to come for their fall guys. So the ROI on your silence will be your downfall.
That's so true.
What are you going to do to take your power back and stand for what's right?
My name is Josue. I'm a Stanhope resident. I kind of want to continue talking about all the atrocities. Josue Pacheco. I want to keep talking about the recorded atrocities that have been going on in ICE detention facilities. Growing up in the internet age, I feel like I'm pretty desensitized to violent imagery. My country, has engaged in war pretty much all my life. So I've seen the reporting, the imaging, and sometimes I'm not proud to say that violent image doesn't really affect me all that much. I've never been in war, I'm sure it's completely different. But I've seen people getting shot, people getting decapitated, people under censorship, but people getting raped. Those are all on the internet. But there was an Associated Press article that came out 2 weeks ago that struck a different chord with me. There was a section of the article that says, detainee says, this is an account of a person held in ICE detention facility in Texas. And the detainee says that guards were placing bets on who was the next person, the next detainee that was going to kill themselves. I'm going to say that again. There were ICE detention guards placing bets amongst themselves to see which. There were ICE detention guards placing bets amongst themselves, gaming, having fun, to see which was the next person that was going to kill themselves. I think that's so fucked up, on so many just levels. I'm sorry. Wouldn't want to engage in violence right now. I think the pool of money that the article stated was around $500, and the detainee that was, speaking to this reporter, said that talk that they overheard was particularly jarring because he himself had contemplated suicide while in ICE detention. Now, a lot of the people here bring up very valid concerns about the environment, the sewage, the resources on our township, all of which are very valid, but none of that pales in comparison to the atrocities that are going down in these warehouses. And they're just gonna open one down the street on 46, right here, So none of this is right anywhere. It's not right in Texas. It's not right anywhere across this country, but we are not everywhere in the country. We're here in Roxbury, and this is gonna open right here in Roxbury. So I really hope that you take this seriously, not just as a city council person, town council person, but as a resident and a human being. We're talking about serious things, suicide, rape, excuse my language, but these are real things, So yeah, I just kind of wanted to vent about that because, again, it's important, the water and the sewage is important, but keep talking about this while the underlying theme is human suffering, it's a little absurd to me, So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Thank you.
Good evening, Diana May, 30 Whisper Way East, Ledgewood, here in Roxbury.
First, before I get to my comments, I would just like to make a procedural recommendation. As you're planning on ending public session, it may be helpful to do a, for lack of a better term, last call. There are people who are physically unable to stand for long periods of time and wait for the line to go down, because we had historically had long lines for this. So I would recommend that we make a verbal announcement so that people who wish to be heard can be heard. Thank you. Then for what I wanted to speak tonight, I often come here simply as a concerned resident audience member. However, I'm often inspired by something one of you says. As Bonnie Rosenthal, very wise woman, said at a prior meeting, words matter. Tonight, I'm inspired by Senator Bucco's letter posted on our town website. When Councilwoman Albrecht proposed adding a tab to our town website, we appreciated and applauded the gesture of transparency. We were anticipating things like updates on the ICE arrest, which also had a discharge of a firearm, not a patronizing remark from Senator Bucco. To read the quote that is resonating with me, I would encourage everyone to rise above political theater and work together for the betterment of the township. What have we been doing here? That's what we've been asking for work with us. The term itself, political theater, and the overall sentence that I just read is divisive and an improper use of our website tab that is intended for transparency to share information with the community. Again, words matter. Thank you.
Jody Kegan, 90 Union Brick Road, Blairstown, New Jersey. I also just have some two procedural things to say. How should we communicate to you when we can't hear you? Literally, we could not hear you. I couldn't hear Councilman Riley and Councilman DeFilippo because they literally were backed up almost to the wall. So they were not ready for their mics. However, the township manager and the person was sitting next to you, we could hear them clearly because they were on their mics. We could hear them. So we just asked that we could hear you. Also, how will it feel when you're deep in litigation and these meeting transcripts and you hear Mr. O'Reilly twice refer to the facility up the street? Aren't we capable of calling it what it is? A warehouse. The warehouse. The ICE warehouse. Thank you.
Public, there's no executive tonight, motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor?
Where's Tom?